Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Sendra D. My name is Sendra Dorcé. This is part 2 of a 2-part interview. We hope that you enjoyed the previous segment.
So I want to ask you, so we talk about the solution and, but I want to expand on that a bit more. As far as the 2020 election is concerned, we have two very distinct candidates. You have Joe Biden, and how he's still a candidate, I don't understand, but I'll just say that. But then we have a fake Russia investigation, and then we have a real, China, Ukraine, paradigm in saga, if that goes unnoticed. But let's carry on. I'm digressing at this point. But so we have two distinct candidates. So we have one that emphasizes law and order. We have one that says defund the police. He says he didn't say it, but he said it, in not specific terms, but that's pretty much his agenda. The people behind him are pushing that agenda. So I want to ask you, as far as the solution, how do you think the solution fits into these two different dynamics? If you could talk about Joe Biden first, what would that solution look like under a Joe Biden administration? And how would that then look like under President Trump?
Can I ask you to define the solution as you refer to it, please?
So the solution meaning to halt the progress that is currently taking hold of this country, the progress of this cancer we're referring to with the Black Lives Matter disruption and the socialist disruption, all of those that are causing the country to come to a halt, if not regress. So those are the issues that are currently that need to be discussed. So those two, what would happen to under Joe Biden? Because it's so unclear right now what this presidency would bring. Would we see everything go back to normal? Would we see things get better? Would we see things get worse with Joe Biden?
Oh, I think things would be definitively worse. On the one hand, I've heard Biden say that he would reverse the tax cuts, which were so important to growing the economy the last 3 years. He has said that he would have a national mask mandate. Right away, you can see in those two things, he has no interest in furthering the economic and prosperity of his citizens. And second of all, he's perfectly willing to use government force to make people do whatever he thinks is right. Whether he's right or wrong is beside the point. He just wants to make you do it. So both of those tell me a lot about how they're going to operate if they become president.
What about packing the court? Can you explain that to the audience?
Well, packing the court is, the Constitution doesn't specifically say that there should be a limited number of justices. We traditionally have 9. I think at one time early in the Republic, we had 7. The notion is you should stay with an odd number because that way one way or another, you'll always have a minority result. If you have an even number, then you could have a split decision and it was chaotic. In 1936, Franklin Delano Roosevelt wanted to pack the court. He wanted to increase the court to 15. And the reason was that at the time, the Supreme Court had found a number of the New Deal programs to be illegal or unconstitutional. The president, among other programs, he had one called the National Recovery Act, NRA as it was called. And it was found to be unconstitutional because it suppressed free trade. And Roosevelt was incensed. And consequently, his solution was to try to increase the number of justices on the court. So if they had gone from 9 to 16 or 17 or 15 or whatever it was, he could probably have appointed 6 more justices and consequently had, a majority on the court. The court is theoretically, under John Jay, going back into our early history, the court is intended to interpret law based on the intent of the Constitution and how it was written. The originalist theory is that they wrote it thinking through the ramifications of various laws with respect to the Constitution, which was intended to limit government power and not intended to give the justices the opportunity to reinterpret the meaning of the Constitution and say, well, we think that there's a right of privacy. Well, there's nothing in there about a right of privacy. Now, we culturally respect one another and believe there's a right to privacy, but there's nothing in the Constitution to ensure it, any more than there's anything in the Constitution that says yay or nay whether you can have abortions. But what the Supreme Court did there was they essentially legalized or authorized abortions across the board in the entire country, despite what the voters might have thought. Now, the voters in New York State might easily have voted for a state law legalizing all abortion. Fine. But the people in Florida might not have wanted to do that.
Sure.
And theoretically, basically on how the union is put together, it should be something that's determined by the voters in each of these states, not across the board, and not by 9 people sitting in Washington. That's what's wrong.
Correct.
So the notion of packing the court is that this president, has been able to appoint 2 justices and now has the 3rd on the way.
Soon to be 3.
Yeah. So that frightens the Democrats because they want to use the courts, as they always do, as a way of creating policy, creating law. And they've been very successful with this. We've had a number of instances where the voters in various states have determined that they want things to be a certain way. For example, in California, I think it was in 1995, there was a referendum. Forgotten the number now. We didn't live there anymore, but there was a referendum in the state of California that marriage was to be between a man and a woman, period. And that was vacated by a 1-judge ruling, period. That was the end of it. And so the voters of California, which is 25 million people, their will was expressed in a referendum, but a court decided that that it would be completely vacated and obviated. That's just one example. And so the left is terrified because this is the way they've been using the courts. And if we have somebody who's an originalist, like say Amy Coney Barrett on the court, and somebody comes before the court with some kind of a wacky environmental law, and it looks at it and she said, well, there's nothing in the Constitution here to support this stuff. We're not going to. It's not happening. Well, that's not what the Democrats want to hear. They want to hear that the Supreme Court is going to rule that you can't drive a car with an internal combustion engine after 2030, period. That's it, whether you like it or not. And whether there's any scientific basis for that, that doesn't matter. They just want to pass the law and make you do it.
Absolutely.
It's a major conflict.
They are in, what they're trying to do with real estate as well, with buildings and certain, regulation that if you have a building that's 20 years old, you have to, I don't know, there's something that you have to do in order for it to pass a certain test. And so it doesn't matter how much it's going to cost to get this done, but you need to do it by a certain time. So which eventually will bankrupt all real estate owners. So it's interesting. So now if we could turn to, we have a few more minutes, we could talk about what that solution would look like under, what you think President Donald Trump would do to try to halt this, because I know he's been holding back because he's focused on his reelection, but protecting businesses, it's a big thing. These people are burning down businesses, they are attacking people on the streets, they are asking for your house if you happen to be someone they don't like based on whatever not gender, but race or religion. They want you out. So they want your house because they feel that's kind of part of the reparation process. And so I'll just say that as a Black person, I don't owe you anything. So you want my taxes?
Well, I'm this is kind of a silly story. When I was matriculating at the University of North Carolina, we had to fill out a form on the first day or two. And one of the things on the form had to do with your racial background. And frankly, my family's been here almost 400 years, or part of it, back to New Amsterdam, which was not Massachusetts, but New York City, Dutch. And so that's a while. So at that point, I checked off Native American. So what, I've been here 8 generations.
Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas.
Right. I just checked. I was sort of insulted by the question, so I said, well, Native American. So I forgot all about it. And then 20 years ago, I started getting mailings from the university. That there's the Native American fraternity. And would you make a contribution, or would you like your name listed in the Native American alumni book? It's like, what the hell? So silly stuff. Silly stuff. Anyway, I got off the track. I don't know where we were headed.
Okay, but I've done the same. I don't know how far back you want me to go. I think I'm a spiritual being. I have no race. I've put it all there. I put smiles.
Well, the race thing is it would be funny if it wasn't so tragic. It would be really hilarious otherwise. But this country has been subsumed in this nonsense. And of course, we denied the truth. I mean, Barack Obama is not black. Okay, he's
mixed.
White.
He's half white, half black.
No, he's not even half black. He's 3/8 Arab. He's 3/8. He's only 1/8 black. And meanwhile, that's what he does. Oh, I'm black. I'm black. Well, you're not really. And besides, I don't really care. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. In fact, it didn't matter. And that's why he got elected, because most of us didn't give a damn. And then he wanted to capitalize on it. But nobody cared, really. He couldn't have gotten elected otherwise.
And then he sounded like he was channeling Martin Luther King with that accent. I was like, well, that's not how you sound. That's not how you sound.
No, I know. Your picture has frozen. I am not. You're not moving. I can hear you, but you're not moving.
Okay, is it okay now?
No, you're not moving yet. Maybe if I move no.
Can you hear me?
Anyway, you were so I hear you fine. Yeah. So vis-a-vis the president, the incumbent who's running for re-election, I'm inclined to think that the next administration, or the next 4 years in his administration, will be at least as beneficial as the first 4. And there are a couple of reasons for that. I think he's going to win the election. I think we're going to retake the House.
So I really love the comment, what you've just summarized with about, the Vice President Biden. And I'd have to, I definitely respect anyone who achieves any level of service in, our government. I believe that everyone has gone in with truly pure intentions. What happens along the way and gets them to, along the way, it's another story. Good intentions, but sometimes, somewhere you get distracted. And that may have happened. I have no evidence for Vice President Biden as to what happened, transpired to get him and his family to the point where we're having these conversations about them. But it's a very different dynamic than Donald Trump, who actually came into office with no civil service experience, has been in private enterprise his whole life, worked only for himself, never held a job other than him running up his own company. And so he had very clear agenda for the United States. And I applaud that as well. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I was a libertarian. I voted for Gary Johnson twice. I said, I'm done with parties. I voted for Bush and I said, no more. I'm done with this. So when 2016 came, I said, Hillary Clinton's going to win. Donald Trump, maybe not. But then when he won, and then it started unraveling with the Russia investigation, and then we had the Kavanaugh. I said, there is no way I can go to third party at this point. So I joined the Republican Party again. So it was in 2018 that I rejoined the Republican Party. So I could vote for Governor DeSantis in the primary. And so that's been reigniting my Republican voting career. So I wanted to turn, you mentioned Biden, Vice President Biden, but I want you to talk to me now about what that would look like with what we were talking about earlier as far as the solutions under Donald Trump. You mentioned, and I can relate to that as a libertarian, no foreign intervention. No, do not disrupt any government. But tell me what your thoughts are about Donald Trump.
I think it's a little more complex. First of all, I want to make one more comment about this guy Biden. I think he's been a bum from the get-go.
Really?
He was last in his class in college. He was caught plagiarizing in college. This guy has been a liar and a cheat all the way down his career. And as far as I can tell, has never done anything for anybody but himself. So that's where I stand on this guy. I think he's a complete waste of human tissue.
Including
Okay,
his
so
children, I would say.
his son? Well, yeah, sure.
Look at
It's a
it's a sad
sure.
story. I feel bad for him, actually. I
For
actually
whom?
feel bad because it's dysfunctional parents that create dysfunctional kids. So sometimes you
Yeah.
say not always.
On the other hand, once you become an adult, you are supposed to be responsible for your actions. But anyway, back to the president. First of all, he has never been in public office, but he's also been outspoken on public matters for years with positions with which I've always agreed. And he has done a great deal of service in his own life for people on a local level and in the city of New York. I mean, the Woolman Rink thing is a great example. The city was screwing around for years and years and years and spending millions of dollars getting nothing done. And Trump said, look, give me whatever it is, $10 million or whatever it was, and I'll get it done in 9 months. He got it done in 6 months, and did it. And it's the same thing with this presidency. It's like they've been screwing around in the Middle East now, trying to sort this stuff out with these people that want to live in camps in the desert and claim that they're victims, and the president said, wait, why are we resolving things with the Palestinians instead of dealing with these other people, these other countries that want to do business and get this straightened out and have peace? So he said, well, forget the Palestinians for now, not forever, but for now, we'll go make our deals with Bahrain, and we'll make a deal with UAE, we'll make a deal with Egypt, and we'll get things settled down, and then maybe the Palestinians will come around. Okay, maybe not. But meanwhile, we're not waiting for them while we're trying to get everything else. Or this is a presidential way of thinking. It's like, wait, deal. It's like, okay, wait, we've got people doing 20 years for possession of marijuana. No, that's wrong. Okay, maybe you deserve 6 months. Okay, maybe you broke the law, but you don't deserve to have your life ruined, and you don't deserve to have you and your family ruined. That's all wrong. And so he's turned around and dealt with it. We've had politicians for God knows how long claiming that they were going to do something about this crazy stuff. And none of them did. They didn't do it. Where the hell was Obama on this? I mean, he was a natural choice. He could have done it in no time. And then you got this guy Biden, talking about Biden. He was voting for these incredible mandatory sentences in 1994. They got him on record. You can see it. He was in favor of putting these people away for the rest of their lives for simple, victimless crimes. This is a bad guy. And he's a racist on top of it. Okay.
Well, that's the topic I wanted to talk about. That's their
I mean,
point with Trump, that Trump's a racist. That means it's not a racist. He doesn't have black friends. So what? I mean, if I don't have white friends, does that mean I'm racist? So yeah, keep talking.
I don't know. Whenever I see those pastors at the White House, it looks to me like half of them are black. But anyway, that's beside the point. It's not about color. It's about character.
Can I say, I came from a black country, and having black leadership means nothing if you don't have the capabilities or the right vision or intention to work for your country, not for your own self-interest. And the other point you will probably make is the fact that this man is giving away his salary. He's not taking from the presidency. Of course, he has president as a title that he can always, monetize. But after his presidency, like they all do, I mean, Obama has like a $50 million deal now because with Netflix. But keep talking about. This is your interview. I don't want to take up your time. I have opinions.
So I have great hopes for the president, and I think the second term is going to be better than the first. I think that the left has tried everything they can think of: impeachment, collusion, racism, everything they could throw at it. And if they can come up with anything more, good luck to them. I doubt they will, and I think that they're going to lose control of the House. And I think the president's going to have, he's going to have a rough time. We may have a civil war, but at least he's going to have.
Well, fortunately, our conservative sides, we have the guns, so I'm not concerned about that at all. All those people who want to do away with them, I hope it doesn't get to that. But I said to a cop the other day, I said, I dare them to hijack this election. I dare them. I dare the Democrats to use their corrupt minds to hijack this election. This country will be on fire if that happens. I'm not saying I'm going to set it on fire, but I know there are people who are ready. And so it will be a travesty for the progress that we've made this far, and for race relations as well, because this country will be divided by race, because they are still pushing the agenda that if you're white, you hate blacks, and if you're black, whites hate you. And that's not been the story at all in this country. I mean, look at us, we're having the cordial conversation everywhere I go. I've never had an issue or been afraid to walk around anywhere in this country. I mean, there was one time I went to Texas and like my car got stuck in a deep Texas, near outside of Dallas. And they were looking at me like this, what are you doing there? I'm a little cosmopolitan, for they're too cosmopolitan. But I managed, I found help. Somebody came out and said, little lady, I'm gonna help you. And because you shouldn't be around here. And I was like, okay, just get me out. My car got stuck in the mud, and he took me to a hotel, let me stay there, picked me up back to my car the next day. And I will never forget that. And so, yeah, there'll be a few, they won't help you, but there will be that third person who will in the same city. So you know what? To me, there's progress in this country. So let's keep going, talk about, and of course, I just want to say thank you. We've been speaking with Chris Casler, who is, a phenomenal filmmaker. He is the director of America in Peril. The film is a must-see for anyone who wants to get the highlights of what the potential for a socialist country can how it can affect this country. It is a must-see. It is currently now on YouTube, and it will be at there will be a link for the film at the bottom of the video. Chris is phenomenal. He has other works that I've cited in the beginning of the video, and he can be reached. Also, we'll put all his contact details at the bottom of it. But to summarize, what do you think? We want to talk about the film. We've been talking about politics. So what do you want people to take away from this film project that you just completed?
Well, I think I want them to understand what the dynamics are that are behind the current electoral conflict, and that we really do have everything on the line with respect to our liberty as a country and our integrity as a country. We're going to lose all of that if we elect Joe Biden and any of the people that are running alongside him. And I don't just mean Kamala Harris, I mean all the people running in the House and the Senate besides. Unfortunately, we can't look at the Democrats any longer as simply being a loyal opposition. We have to look at them as an actual enemy. I'm sorry to put it that way, but that's probably what it comes down to. And frankly, having heard what some of these people have to say about people like me, I have every reason to call them an enemy because of the way they characterize things. So there's that. The other thing is that with everything on the line, we obviously can only do a few things as individuals. I did what I could to make this film. I felt this film was going to make a positive impact and help the cause. But what all of us can do is pray. We can all vote, and we can all stand. And by standing and speaking, I mean talking to your friends, your family, your neighbors, tell them what's going on and try to get through to them that what we're facing here is very, very serious business. And that if we don't resolve it in this election, and I know we frequently hear that every election is the biggest and most important in history, but frankly, this one is. And so we need to engage people and make sure they understand what's on the line.
Absolutely. We definitely have one purpose, and that is to keep the United States of America united, because the separation is going to do just that. Separate families, it's going to separate friendships, it's going to separate the working environment. People can talk about certain things now in their workplace. It's just become a cancer, as I've said before. And just to highlight, and those of you who didn't hear me in the first part, Chris did interview me for a little bit. That was my first film, so I'm now officially a film star. And so
you are.
So that's fun. So I definitely want to encourage everyone to look up the film, America in Peril. The link is at the bottom of this video. Please feel free to leave your comments, like, subscribe, go to the channel where the film is being shown, and also put your comments for Chris. And Chris, if somebody needs to reach you, how can they reach you?
I can be reached by email, my last name. Well, let me give you this one. Producer, that's obvious, right? At GoLifa, that's GOLIFA.org. GoLifa.org.
It just has been a pleasure. We thank you so much for coming to share this time with us. We wish you all the success with the film, and hopefully this will not be the last. Hopefully after President Trump wins, you will come back so we can discuss have a new conversation about the win. So
Thank you, Sandra.
yeah, and to the audience, I want to say thank you for joining us today, and feel free to share with your friends and post on all your social media, get the word out, because this is a phenomenal film project and a needed conversation. So, I suggest that you watch it with your friend and have healthy conversations as to what your beliefs are about socialism and how it is taking over the United States. And we didn't name names, but there are some big names that are behind this big agenda. And I'm not afraid to call Mr. George Soros out, because apparently he's one of the key players in this. And I asked him, if he's listening, if you're watching my show, Mr. Soros, have some heart. Think about your children and your grandchildren, because this country is the one that welcomed you. So that said, I want to say thank you for joining another wonderful episode of Frankly Speaking with Sendra D. My name is Sendra Dorcé, and today my guest was Chris Casler, and he is the director producer of America in Peril. And I look forward to you joining us for another episode very soon. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Sandra. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Frankly Speaking with Sendra D on Sendor TV. Please subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when a new episode is uploaded. Also follow us on Instagram and on Facebook, and we definitely appreciate you being part of this community.